Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dogfight, a podcast dedicated to the London Spitfire and Overwatch League. Fasten your seatbelts and observe the no smoking sign because today we'll be discussing meta changes, a new map pool, and roster shifts that will be taking place for Stage 2. We'll also be diving in on London's newly announced contenders team, the British Hurricanes. I am Havokpus, and I'm joined by Frozencreek, who we are attached at the hip, it seems, because everyone else keeps
Hello.
getting busy.
Yeah, everyone is sick this week, so you are stuck with me, the producer, filling in. Um, Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully, I can help you guys make it through this week and get back to next week when there are hopefully warmer bodies around.
Yes, we are missing some people. Everyone's sick. Apparently, it's flu season still. And also, just not a lot really going on. Well, I guess some things are going on, but not, action punching. More backroom deals and other seediness. And we shall all venture into that. But let's go on to our first topic, which is the British Hurricanes. Everyone was complaining, oh, London Spitfire is not an EU team. Well, you got one now, so quit complaining. The London Spitfire have added the roster of those guys who won the EU PIT Season 2 championships. The roster will be called the British Hurricanes and will be competing in the second season of EU Contenders. The roster features Fusions on tank, Craggy and Kib on DPS, KYB, however you pronounce that. I'm not good at pronouncing things. For support, we have Crusade, Bach1, and Funny Astro. And on Flex, we have Happy-Cool. So, a pretty capable team. If you recognize Keeb and Crusade, they were on the Cloud9 Contenders roster, actually. Frozen. So we have some old faces, we have new faces. Have a few British players, have a few players from other parts of Europe, all coming together to make sure we are just as strong contenders as we are in Overwatch League.
I have a question about this. So how does the contenders circuit work? Do you know?
It's basically just like a minor league. So, I think it's gonna work probably similarly to how Overwatch League works, in that they'll play like a set number of maps, and they'll play an opponent like every day on the weekend or something. But it starts this March, I believe, mid-March or so.
All right, I'm looking it up. Yeah, that all sounds right. All right, so I have the
Other question?
inaugural contenders. No, I have the teams. That's about it. Okay. Yeah, I think it is a good idea to bring in a European talent at some point. So, I think this is a good move. I don't know much about any of the players per se. I'm sure I've watched them before, but it's kind of cool that they're finally getting some EU talent since they are the only EU team currently. Do you know if they're going to be working with the Spitfire roster directly at all, or are they completely separate?
Not in the immediate future, since the Spitfire is all in LA, and this season of Contenders, everyone it's like an online tournament, and everyone's kind of scattered about. So there's not a lot of interaction between the Spitfire and the Hurricane right now. But I think the plan is eventually, when everyone gets moved over to London and everyone's kind of in one large facility or whatever, they'll be kind of interacting with each other. Maybe if one of the Contenders players is good enough, and one of the Spitfire players have learned enough English to where they can communicate. Maybe someone in the Hurricane roster can move up and play on the Spitfire. That's certainly a possibility. Maybe not likely, considering why kind of risk that when top talent's going to be Korean talent, and Overwatch League is the tier 1 league, and you want to have tier 1 talent. Contenders, you can kind of roll the dice and go for this European team. Who knows? It's kind of up in the air. I do think I've watched like Fusions and Craggy stream, and they're both very good. I have faith in this team. I can't wait to see them play together. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I think the goal should be to find some kind of balance between EU talent and non-EU talent. So hopefully this is the start towards finding some kind of balance there.
Yeah, and like I said, the language barrier is definitely a challenge, and I think that it will definitely it'll definitely take time to see how the teams progress and who is looking like they can maybe step up and who can maybe be integrated into this roster of Korean speaking players. Who knows? But hopefully, I guess the goal is to have this integrated roster of really good European players and really good Korean players, so you have sort of the best of both worlds kind of thing. But we'll never know until, I don't know, maybe a year or two from now, maybe more. Who knows? It's kind of up in the air right now. But let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah, moving on. We're going to be talking about all the stuff that's going to be changing for Stage 2. There's actually a lot of stuff changing. It's actually really exciting. Starting this Wednesday, February 21st, Stage 2 of Overwatch League starts back up again. I'm really excited about it. I bet everyone else is at home. And there have been a lot of changes to the meta that I'm really happy about. Everyone can rejoice because Mercy has been nerfed. Specifically, her Valkyrie no longer grants an instant res, and it only has one charge, and I think if you use your res before you use Valkyrie, it doesn't refresh the cooldown. So Resurrection is it's not as strong, which means all these other support characters have risen up and are now viable, which makes things a lot more exciting and less annoying and frustrating to watch.
Yeah, the end of the Mercy era is probably one of the best things I've seen in a while. Kind of like when they finally killed Azir the first time in Victor.
Oh yeah, I remember that era. It was so annoying to
League
watch because it was just
of
endless
Legends.
wave clear, and it's just like, how do you get anything done?
Yeah, just a fun stat. I'm looking at Winston's lab, and it looks like in the first stage we played a Mercy 95.75% of the actual time that we spent on the stage. So I'm sure it gets higher if you look at some other teams, which is absolutely
It was
insane.
like most teams had to play Mercy.
Yeah,
it was a necessity
yeah, it
because
was
of
dumb.
how useful it was.
Yeah, it was dumb. I think they need to figure out how they can balance the supports in a way to make it more eclectic, I guess. So I'm glad that this is a start. Mercy being dead. I have a feeling that she might not be dead, just not a 95% play rate on most teams.
Still good.
Yeah.
I think because she has, sorry to step on your toes, but just to kind of get a little bit more in depth, at least on my opinions about Mercy, I think she's still a good pick just because she has, I think, the highest heals per second, or like sustained healing per second. And you also have the Valkyrie, which can chain that together, and you have a damage boost. So she's still very useful, and she still does have that res. If you just need to protect her and make it so she doesn't get picked off immediately. So she still is useful, but I think that there are other just better supports right now. You have Lucio, who's come back. Everyone loves Lucio. You also have Zenyatta's still strong. Moira, I think, is a pick to really watch because she can both do a lot of healing and a lot of damage. So you might see like these Slamblance comps, as they're called, where you have like 3 to 4 tanks, and then just a couple supports, and she just charges her ult super fast. So you just like run on the point, and she just pops her ult, and everyone's just hitting each other, and no one on their team is like really getting low because of the healing, which is not very fun.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we didn't see that much though. At least in the matches I watched.
Well, that was
Which
because
is
it was still Mercy
good.
stuff.
Yeah. So for the meta for stage 2, I'm interested to see what they do with the supports around the league, because Zenyatta was obviously like the second tier support, but with Mercy being taken down a notch, is it still just going to be Zenyatta in, in Mercy, or is Lucio's play rate going to go up?
I think it will.
Yeah, I think it will, but I'm not sure how substantially. So I'm kind of curious to how they're gonna balance between those. I think Lucio's the preferred play for most teams when it comes to compositions, but the state that Mercy was in made it so hard to pick another type of support. So I'm hoping that we can see the revival of at least a Lucio and maybe an Ana, because I think that the Spitfire have a good roster to flex around Lucio and Ana. So I'm hoping that their play rates go up substantially. But looking at their play rates from last stage, I have a feeling that Mercy might still get played a decent amount. But I guess we'll just have to see. I never would have saw the Widowmaker meta. So what do I know?
Yeah, same here. Before Overwatch League started, it was basically just everyone was just playing dive. So it was always Winston Diva and then like Genji Tracer. And then, the Widowmaker Junkrat setup kind of came up, and it's just like, oh, we can play anti-dive. We can, we have to have a Mercy, and it's all just like kind of like this chaotic spam, erase any mistakes kind of thing. So it's really confusing. So with Mercy kind of clipped, I guess, we'll see a lot more variety in the supports. I think Ana will actually be picked some depending on what the enemy is doing. And I think in this meta, you have a lot of flexibility. You can go dive, you can go anti-dive, you can go triple tank, you can go quad tank, death ball comp. You can do a lot with it now that you couldn't do before, because you were so stuck with like, okay, we have to have a Mercy, and then we have to have the Zenyatta, and then we have to, then round it out from there. But I think that now, there's a lot more open. I've been watching some streams, and I've seen like Reinhardt's being played a lot more, and they're doing like the triple tank like a lot more. Roadhog is having a lot more presence, so we'll probably see a lot more variety in the non-DPS roles. I don't think the DPS stuff will change much. Junkrat's still stupid strong because of the rip tire and just how much damage his grenades do. So I don't think that his play will be changed too much. I don't think, but I think other roles, I think we'll see a lot more variety.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What do you think about the maps? So the map pool completely switches, or are the new maps added on to the old pool?
I'm not sure. I was confused about this as well. I was looking through the schedule to try to see if you would see some of the maps from the last stage, but from what it looks like, at least to my knowledge, they just have a new map pool to work with. Until we know different, it looks like we're going to be playing on 2CP. You'll have Volskaya and Hanamura. King of the Hill, you'll have Nepal and Lijiang Tower. Hybrid, you'll have Kings Row and Hollywood. And for payload, you'll have Gibraltar and Route 66. And I gotta say, I'm actually not a fan of a bunch of these maps just because they're really frustrating to play. Like, Volskaya is just completely stupid, at least from my point of view, because it's very choke pointy to get in, and then the area around the point is just so large, it makes it really difficult to kind of break in and actually like do things as a team on offense. I think that it's very like defense favored, and I guess that's to an extent like every TCP map, but stuff like Bull Sky and Hanamura, like really hard to break into. And also just like really easy to snowball and make it so, it's very like swingy. And then like Gibraltar, there's a lot of high ground stuff, and it can get really annoying. And it's really easy to stall the point at some areas because if you have a lot of high ground control, it makes it really difficult. But I guess I'm fine with the others. Like Lijiang Tower, we've seen before played as a tiebreaker, and that's a pretty good balanced map, I think. I'm not sure about Nepal. Nepal feels kind of small. I just don't like it. But Route 66 and Kings Row and Hollywood are good. I like those maps a lot. I feel that they don't really favor one side, or they don't have a bunch of stuff that's super annoying to deal with. So I guess it's a mixed bag of good and bad.
Yeah, I find it kind of weird that the map pool is so small for each stage. And I find it even more weird how they planned the map pool. Like the newer maps were in stage 1. Like all of them were pretty much.
Oh
And
yeah,
then stage
yeah,
2
and these
is
are all the
like
older maps.
the original maps.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like Route 66 in Hollywood. I think Lijiang Tower was one of the first ones. I'm having a hard time remembering back that far.
I think it's an older one. I think it was one of the first ones for King of the Hill, I think.
Yeah, I like a lot of these maps. Like I like Lijiang Tower, Hollywood, Route 666. So I'm kind of glad to see them back in. But I wish that we still got to see like Junkertown and stuff like that, like maps that were a lot of fun. But
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
or no, you go.
Okay. Well, I was going to mention that a lot of people have been asking, why not do the map pick ban system that they had in like Apex, where teams could kind of take maps off and be like, okay, well, we want this map, and then the other team's like, okay, well, if you get this map, we get this map, and then they kind of go back and forth to do, 4 maps, 5 maps, what have you. With this, it's kind of like Blizzard just like, all right, you're gonna play this map, and this map, deal with it. And it kind of ruins the variety as well as I think it kind of lessens the strategy, because there are obviously maps that teams are bad on. Like London Spitfire is awful at Oasis. So, you have to go in these mind games of like banning maps and be like, okay, well, is London gonna just take Oasis off the map right away? If you're able to like maybe get Oasis on, do you make sure that they have to play on Oasis so you can guarantee at least one map? All this other psychological stuff that is put into Overwatch is not really there, and it kind of feels like we're missing out on things that can make the game more like cerebral, I guess is the right word.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get it because it would add another like 5 to 10 minutes to each match, which are scheduled for what, an hour and a half, I think, and it always goes longer. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
guess I kind of get trying to limit the time, but maybe they could figure out a way or around that. I'm trying to look up the stage 3 map to see what's going on, but
I looked and it showed the same maps as stage 2, but I'm not sure if they
okay,
might
yeah,
change that.
it's not loading for me. So, um, I do think that a lot of the viewers get kind of bored seeing the same maps over and over again throughout the stages. Like we get what, 5 weeks of Overwatch League, and it's just 2 maps of each type, which is extremely boring. So, and
Yeah,
I think I
that's what I
speak
struggled with.
for a lot of people saying that like the champion meta or hero meta is really not that diverse that you can limit the map pool so much that or that you can limit the map pool and still make it interesting. So I'm skeptical, but I'm hoping that this is kind of like a season one kind of thing that to help the teams like get up to speed on all the maps. But what do I know?
Yeah, I mean that could be it too. They may be testing stuff out. I mean, this is the first season, so they're probably still trying to test the waters on like, okay, well, how do we do map stuff? You know, do we go with the pick ban thing that kind of maybe takes a bit longer, or do you go with this and we just tell them, okay, you're gonna play the maps? I will say it is kind of a welcome change of scenery because some of the maps like Kings Row, you know, Gibraltar, Volskaya, they're all like really pretty maps, right? And you're with stage one, they were really like limiting themselves to only like a small number of maps. So it's like, well, there are all these other maps that we could be seeing, and it could make it all, you know, more exciting, and we weren't getting to see that. So now we're kind of seeing that, but if we're going to be encountering the same problem, it doesn't really fix a lot, and eventually we'll be like, you know, I don't want to see Volskaya for the billionth time. I want to see him play. I want to see him play Junkertown or something. But we'll have to see how it goes. I am excited to see how teams approach these maps because since they're structured differently than the maps in the first stage, you have to kind of approach them all differently. So it'll be really interesting, like how does London Spitfire handle Volskaya? How does the Dallas Fuel handle Kings Row or Route 66? You know, it kind of adds a new wrench in things, and we'll have to see how the teams do. And speaking of teams, I'm moving on. Speaking of teams, there was a lot of roster shuffle going on, which makes things even crazier. So the biggest, most impactful thing is the London Spitfire have apparently lost Rascal and Fisher. They've been shot down and taken captive by the Dallas Fuel and Gladiators, respectively. No one is sure whether or not London will be taking in players to fill those holes, or if they're just going to take money and save that for later. Who knows? But I'm curious, Frozen, do you think London should fill in these spots or not?
I think it seems like they're just gonna leave them open at the moment. I'm
Do
not
you think
entirely
that's a good
sure that they
idea?
need to fill them either. I think the idea of having two teams to scrim together is a good idea, but I don't think that all of them have to be stage eligible to make it helpful and appropriate. So I think that the spots should be filled in some sense, but I'm not entirely sure that it should be filled to be stage ready backups
Okay.
because there weren't many instances where some of the players didn't or actually or there weren't many instances where some of the players actually made it on stage.
Yeah, Fisher
So
like barely played.
yeah, so like there's no reason to like bring in a high profile backup if he's just gonna play two maps through the whole stage. Like I think it would be more impactful to bring someone in
Like an
who's
up
like
and coming talent,
who
maybe?
yeah, who's like Sinatra's age, who is maybe European, is maybe Korean, but like get them in so they can learn the language, how things work, how to be a professional, more so than filling the roster spot with someone who's ready to play day in and day out.
Yeah, I think that is certainly a good fix. I was talking a little bit about this in the Spitfire Discord on Twitter, and my biggest concern is that London Spitfire are losing depth and versatility, because when we played Rascal, Rascal was, doing all of these various picks, right? He played May that one game and really went off and really impressed people. He can play Pharah, he can play McCree, he can play all these niche heroes that you maybe don't see too much. And now that Rascal's gone, we've lost all that depth, we've lost that versatility. Fisher is a more aggressive tank, and I think people have said that he's pretty good at playing Reinhardt. Well, Reinhardt's coming up and maybe will be the new tank in this meta. You've just lost your Reinhardt player. I'm not sure how Jester plays Reinhardt. I assume he is really great at Reinhardt. But, if you can't fill these holes sometimes, that might hurt the team. You lose 2 players, how are internal scrims going to go? Are you going to get the coaches to fill in? That could probably work, since, you don't have to have them be, like, stage ready. They're probably good enough to where they can function in an internal scrum environment. But, for niche picks like Pharah, which we struggle to really utilize, it's going to continue to struggle if we don't have someone that can really fill that hole, especially if there's a Pharah player out there that we can maybe get. So, when we need the Pharah, we can, okay, you're in. So I think with stuff like niche picks and versatility, I think that might hurt us a bit. It might be too soon to tell whether or not this greatly impacts us. I mean, this could not even hurt us at all. We could still be, doing just as well as in stage 1. I mean, like I said, Fisher barely played. Jester played the majority of the Spitfire games, and we won, 7 of them. And we won the stage 1 championship with Jester. Rascal barely played, really. I think he played maybe a third of the time, because he was competing basically with Hureg and Prophet, because you're not going to take Birdring out most of the time. So it kind of makes sense to trade them, considering they're just riding the bench and they have the caliber to start, and they're just not doing anything. But at the same time, I don't like losing all that versatility. I would have at least liked them to stay for a whole season before they left, but I guess, if you're that good, you're not going to waste your time. So it's a really weird situation. I don't have a solid answer for it, but I'm kind of hoping that we fill spots in, if nothing else, just to have something to talk about.
Yeah, and they're also competitors themselves. Like, they don't want to just sit the bench and see the stage for a split, or a one match a stage. So I think it's better for everyone involved if they were to move on. So
yeah,
I'm not too upset with it. It's not like we lost Prophet or Birdring. So
yeah, for sure. You hold on to them for dear life. You do not let go of Prophet and Birdring.
Yeah. I mean, also, if we need a Reinhardt player, I heard there's a former Runaways tank player who played a decent amount of Reinhardt that's open.
Kaiser, if you're referring to Kaiser, I think he's on a Contenders team.
Oh yeah, he did.
I can't remember which one. Oh, I think it's Orgless and Hungary.
We'll screw that team for picking Kaiser, and not being us.
There is a rumor that one Runaways player is in Overwatch League. I don't think they specified who it was. I don't think Runner specified. It might be Tizzy. I think people have been saying it's Tizzy, but who knows? We still have a few days before Stage 2 starts. And with that, there are also some other teams that are making some big moves that I want to talk about. So the Shanghai Dragons, who didn't win a single game in Stage 1, have signed 4 new players, Gaguri, Sky, Fearless, and Ado, to maybe help them out and actually get some wins. Now, I'm really hyped up about Gaguri, because she is a great off-tank. She's super good on Zarya, she's super good on D.Va, and she's just the best. Frozen, I'm really excited to see her play.
Yeah, so this is kind of the first female in major esports in the US. Is that correct?
I think so. Well, no, I guess What about oh shoot, what's her name? She played for Renegades. Oh, I forgot her name.
Oh,
Ramilia.
ooh,
Ramilia.
yeah, yeah, but she never got on stage though.
No, she did.
Oh, really?
She played a little
Okay.
bit, but then they benched her because I think she was having like stage anxiety and stuff, and she was like struggling with stuff, and like she couldn't really get acclimated to the pro lifestyle, so she kind of took a back seat. But yeah, there haven't been too many like major female esports players. It's mostly been
Yeah,
a
and
boys club.
yeah, and by too many, like you could probably count them on one hand.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that this is a cool move. I'm not sure how good she is. I've never
she's
seen her
super
play.
good. I've
Yeah,
watched her
I
stream a
haven't heard
bunch.
too much about her. So I think it's exciting. I think that esports should be more inclusive towards females. So I'm hoping she's good enough and actually sees a stage time because I think
Yeah,
that that would be super duper cool.
yeah. The only issue is that her and two of the other players that Shanghai added are Korean, and the rest of the roster and I think Sky is Chinese. So you have this language barrier there of Korean and Chinese that you kind of have to, break somehow, and the communication issues might like really hurt Shanghai, and it might even hurt them despite the fact that they picked up some talented players. I think we'll have to wait and see. I think that most of them aren't even going to be playing in stage 2 yet because they have visa issues.
Oh yeah,
So
I forgot about that.
yeah, so it sucks. Also, just some other news before we move on. Houston added Fact Fiction. He played on Team USA as well as FaZe Clan. I really like Fact Fiction. I think he's a cool player. Super good. Hopefully Houston will, well, I guess not hopefully since Houston's already strong, but it's really good to see Fact Fiction in Overwatch League because everyone was wondering where he was. Also, Florida signs 2 Korean players, Saya Player and Awesome Guy. So maybe now Florida, along with, I think they signed Zappas earlier. So maybe with these additional pickups, they can actually be more of a threat and not just kind of sitting at the bottom. But we'll have to all see, and that starts this week. And the London Spitfire will be playing Thursday and Friday, both, according to the website, it says 7 p.m. Eastern, but that might change, I'm not sure. Thursday, they're playing against Houston, and Friday, they're playing against New York Excelsior. So it's basically going to be grudge match week.
Yeah, the scheduling on that is really odd. Isn't that the same as the last week of stage one?
Yes, it is.
I guess I'd have to look into it, but I wonder if the schedule reflects itself throughout the whole split or throughout the whole season. Um, I think this is probably our hardest week though.
Yeah, but I guess the good news
Just
is
straight up.
once we get through this week, I think we'll have a lot easier time because like, oh, the 2 toughest teams, at least right now, are out of the way already. We don't have to deal with them anymore, and we can just focus on beating all these other teams, getting into the stage 2 playoffs, and performing for that again. So that's at least some good news, I guess.
Yeah, but it kind of helps to always have some high end competition at the end of the split to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, but I think probably the biggest question is how do these meta changes really impact the team? Like, and I'm, I touched on this earlier, but like, can Gesture play Ryan? How's our support makeup going to look? Are we going to be playing Closer more since Closer apparently is like super good at Moira, and I think has been like grinding out Moira games? Are we going to be still sticking with Nuss and Badosin, since I think Nuss is actually doing a lot of shot calling. And since Mercy isn't there, he can perform better. We don't know, but I'm hoping that losing Fisher and Rascal doesn't hurt our versatility too much, and that the team is ready and waiting to unleash hell on our opponents.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, and I think the support changes from a hero perspective actually help the Spitfire quite a bit because it takes out a Mercy, which is not really a dive comp kind of hero. So I think that's going to allow the Spitfire to play more towards their strengths, which is more of a dive comp style, and kind of abandon the Mercy and play something like a Lucio instead. I'm wondering how Mora is going to fit into that kind of thing because I guess I just don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one of the things that London really struggled with in stage one was that they would get these really great opening picks, right? But then the pick would just be completely erased by the fact that it's like, oh, she has res. And then like one people are up or two people are up. So it's like now the ults or whatever that you use to get that pick and to really open up this fight is just no longer there. And it made it really difficult and really frustrating for London to actually like re-break open the fight and actually do something. So I think I agree, it will benefit their sort of aggressive, dive heavy kind of style. As for Moira, that's a good question. She's this interesting mix of healing and damage. So I'm not sure where she lies. I think we'll probably see a lot of play from a lot of the supports since everyone's kind of at the same level now. Moira is looking, at least from what I've seen, to kind of be rising up just because of how quickly she can get her ult and how useful she is.
Yeah, I feel like she is pretty versatile, but I guess we'll have to see what happens. I mean, we just have two more, or sorry, we're recording on Monday, so 2 more days until the stage starts, but 3 more days till we get London. So I'm personally pretty hyped.
Yeah, same.
What do you think the odds of replicating our 2-0 week at the end of stage 1?
It could definitely happen. I think Houston and New York are both really tough teams because they have a lot of talent, and I think that they're one of the teams that really figure out early on how to abuse the meta and play around the meta. It'll be really tough. I'm not sure how well it'll work out. I'm hoping that the Spitfire is at least prepared enough to make it at least competitive and not just like roll over and die like we did against Houston that one time. So I'm hoping that we can at least just make it competitive.
Yeah, and I think the most exciting thing is Overwatch League coming back after week off, plus completely new maps, plus the changes to the meta that we're likely to see. So I think the most exciting aspect is what is going to transpire as opposed to what do we expect based on what we've seen already, because at this point everything changes. So I have to say that that's going to benefit us at the beginning of the stage, but maybe I'm just being presumptuous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the changes will definitely make things a lot more exciting. So I think we're running low on time, but before we close out, I want to get your prediction on how do you think the Houston and New York matches will line up?
Man, it's tough. As always, I want to just say 2-0 because I have confidence in our team winning both matches. But I think realistically, it's a 1-1 week. I think that's the safest bet. But I think and hope that we're going to win both.
Yeah, I fall on a similar aspect. In my heart of hearts, I want London to just smash it, just 4-0 them in both matches and look like just super dominant coming into this new meta. But considering how many things have changed, it's making me really kind of nervous as well as uncertain. I think at best, probably a 1-1, maybe even an 0-2 considering who we're playing. I think that they may have to just take this one on the chin and then, pick up the pieces and figure out what to do from here. But who knows? We'll have to see. I'm super excited, but I think that's all the time we have for tonight. So please put your tray tables up and return your seats to their full upright positions as we come in for a landing. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and we hope to see you real soon.